everyone, welcome back to my channel and to today's video, which is going to be my June reading journal updates and June reading wrap up. In case this is the first of my reading journal wrap up videos you're watching, I will have a link to the playlist in the description down below. I work on my reading journal off camera. I make the updates to my yearly pages and build my monthly pages. I then come on here to talk through what I did, and then I will do a wrap up of all of the books I read in that month. This journal is an 8x8 square journal from Archer and Olive. I absolutely love it. I don't know that they'll still have this design because their stuff does go in and out of stock very quickly, but they will have other 8x8s. I really recommend it for your reading journal needs, and you can check out videos such as my 2025 reading journal setup if you want to see a bit more about kind of how the spreads came together and that sort of thing. Nearly all of the stickers I use in here are from Maragona Suli, so all of these like witchy stickers that I use, I absolutely love her stuff, so I will have a link down below to her. And then a lot of the functional stickers, so things like backing papers, the circles that I use for my graphs and my star rating stickers are from Plannerface. I do PR for Plannerface, so you can use my code CAT, save 10% on your orders, and add my name and notes to seller to pick up a seasonal freebie. I think that's all my setup stuff. Let's show you the updates to my yearly pages. Updates to my cover page. I do need to get some stickers from Plannerface with numbers on them that I can add here. I thought I had some already. I don't know why, because Anna literally only just released them, so I need to pick those up. Then we have my reading goals. I haven't completed any of my other reading goals for this year. And then in terms of my anticipated releases, I personally feel I'm doing pretty well with this because I did read Atmosphere this month, which I gave 4 stars. So a little bit of progress is being made on this. We love to see it. Then we have my bookshelf star reads. So I drew this reading shelf myself, inspired by somebody who I will have linked in my reading journal favourite stock down below. And I then have a colour scheme where I colour the books based on the star rating that I gave. I have drawn this for like 100 books because that's what I read the last 2 years. I'm only up to like 35, something like that at time of filming. So unfortunately, if I fill one half of the page, it's going to be a miracle at this point. But regardless, I did read 7 books in June, so that has definitely taken us a little way forward with the bookshelves. I really need to colour in that flower pot, I keep forgetting. Then we have my favourite read spread. So my favourite read of June was Spoops, which I really can't wait to talk to you about. It's really fun to see the top half of this completed, and I have filmed a mid-year book freakout tag update thing, so that will already be up on the channel, so do check that out if you want to find out about my reading overall so far this year. Then we have my 25 books in 2025, and I hope you're all proud of me because I did read one abroad in Japan. I listened to on audio, and I have actually started Scandar as well. So we're going to consider that a win because it's embarrassing I've not made more progress on this, but regardless, slow progress is still progress, and I'm going to celebrate the small win we've had with this month. Then I have my 12 recommendations from 12 friends. No wins here. I think this is a lost dream at this point. Then we have my BookBox books, and I'm still in the middle of A Feather So Black, so progress is still not moving here. Yeah, this is the one I feel sadder about having not made progress on, but we are where we are now. Then I have my ARC tracker. So I had forgotten, and I don't know if I said this in a previous video, that I needed to add The Prince and the Player, which I DNF'd back in February. So I put that on here. And then I also sadly just DNF'd How to Date a Prince by Hayden Stone. And I talk about that more in my mid-year book freakout tag. So do check that out if you want to hear my thoughts on that. Spoops was also an ARC, so very happy about that one because it looks great. I do still have some ARCs that I really need to get to, and I think it's going to go over this spread, so I'm going to have to make a second ARC spread somewhere else in my journal. Next year, I'm definitely going to do this back as a double page spread because clearly I can't control requesting ARCs. On the right hand side, these alphabet stickers are from Plannerface. This is where I'm just doing a general alphabet challenge. It's not something I take seriously. If I just happen to read a book with the letter, then I go ahead and add it. And I'm just so happy with how the like passive progression of this is going on, because Abroad in Japan got us for A. I think Enchanted to Meet You was last month. So that's maybe the only one we added this month, but regardless, I feel like really good progress is being made. I really don't think I'll complete this. I don't think I have a single book with Z, and I'm not going to go out of my way to complete it, but it's just fun to see. Then I have my US states tracker. So this is from Scribble Prints Co. And again, this is just a passive challenge just to see how many US states I read round. I think last year I read round more. which makes sense. I read 100 books, so I'm sure I did read around more. But we got Texas this month with Atmosphere. I think that was the only one. I also feel like I keep forgetting to make a note of it while I'm in the book about which state something's set in, and I have to go and Google it afterwards, and that information is not always there. So that's something I need to work on, is like, how can I better track that as an ongoing basis through the month. And on the right hand side, I have my romance bingo. Again, this is just a passive challenge just to see how many of the tropes I read through. This is based on a bingo that somebody else made, and I just refreshed it with some of my own categories. I did realise this month that colleagues and work romance are the same, so I did tick them both off this month. So I went for Atmosphere for colleagues and Enchanted to Meet You. Oh, so I must have read that this month, or maybe I marked that one off last month actually. Yeah, I was like, well, ultimately it doesn't matter that I doubled up on the prompts, I will still mark them off. I don't know how many more of these I'll get to. Like, I'm sure I'll get an enemies to lovers, and it's bizarre I haven't had a grumpy sunshine yet, a second chance romance, so there's a few that we probably still have to come, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm not very close to a bingo right now, so yeah, we'll see whether I get a bingo. But again, this is just passive. Thanks pages here, which will be reused for an arc spread, and then here I have my priority series tracker. So these are just the series that I most want to finish this year. So I made progress on I Think Our Son Is Gay and got up to volume 4, and I think that is the only one, but still, progress on one is better than none, so we'll take that. And I have my physical Kindle and audiobook TBR spreads, which are literally just writing out the book titles and then I stick the cover in when I've read them. It is mortifying to see that I have not read any of the earlier ones. Not one, because these are in the order that I added them to my TBR. Not necessarily the order I bought them, but the order I added them to my TBR. A little bit of progress here with I Think Our Son Is Gay, but mostly I read new books. So if we go to the final page, they've got a little bit of an addition there. Kindle, I didn't count any of them because I don't count my NetGalley reads as Kindle TBR. They would go on like my NetGalley reads. And then for audio, all of them were new audiobooks that were not previously on my TBR. That is a lie. Abroad in Japan was already on my TBR, so that is great. And my audiobook one is obviously a lot smaller, so I don't feel quite as bad about it, but most of them were new books that I purchased this year. Then we have another blank page spread here. We'll then skip past my TBR bingo, which, yeah, unfortunately that's just not got looked at this year. And let us head to my June monthly pages. So these are my June pages. Love them. I love the colour scheme. It's so summery. And the sticker sheet that I used is the Pride Witches because it's June, it makes sense. But also I have matched the witches to the overall like monthly sticker here, which I get from Thumbelina Print. And so obviously I wanted to use the Pride Witches in June, but also it goes really well with June. The backing paper is from Plannerface, and I love the like general aesthetic here. I have not filled out any of those stats and we need them for the video. Let me go find my laptop. My life's a bit chaotic right now, can you tell? So books read was 7. Pages read was only 1,938, so not massive. And my average rating was 3.9. I consider that pretty good. In an ideal world, we'd love to be at a 4, but 3.9 is very close. I do a calendar here so you can see how long the books took me. So things are taking me a little while longer than they would normally, which is why I say only got to 7 books. I think 7 is really good, but one of those was a graphic novel and 2 were graphic novels and 1 was a manga. So in that sense, it's not amazing. I'm just very slow at reading right now, and I keep starting new books and then like stopping in the middle and picking up a new one. So yeah, funny reading space, and I talk about it a lot more in my mid-year book freakout tag. I don't include the books I'm still currently reading in here. So for example, like Mistborn would be the whole way through this whole year because I'm not necessarily actively reading it. But then Feather So Black I will have made progress on in this month, but I don't mark the book until the month I finish it, and then it only gets marked in that month. So that is a slight caveat there. I also have here my YouTube and Instagram stats. So this is not something that I feel I have much control over. I think that you are subject to the social media algorithm and gods, but it's nice for me to just generally see my progress. So YouTube, I'm up to 1,784 subscribers. Thank you so much to anybody who subscribed. And Instagram, I'm up to 1,952. It would be amazing to hit 2,000 on both by the end of the year, but again, I think that the algorithm will do its thing and it will either happen for me or it won't, and I will just keep plugging away and hopefully making content that you want to see. So turning over, I have my like month cover spreads. So the 7 books I read. Oh, I did read Enchanted to Meet You this month. And then I also have what I'm still reading. So this month I read Enchanted to Meet You, which I gave 3.5 stars. I read Something Rotten by Jasper Fforde, which I gave 3 stars. I read Brielle and Bear, Once Upon a Time, which is a graphic novel, which I gave 4 stars. I read I Think Our Son Is Gay by Okura, which I gave 4 stars. I read Abroad in Japan by Chris Board, which I gave 4 stars. I read Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I gave 4 stars. And I read Spoops, The Little Spirits of Halloween, which I gave 4.5 stars. Such a cute read and definitely my favourite of the month. For books I am still reading, I'm still in the middle of A Feather So Black. This book is still going. How many months have we been reading it now? So obviously it was in my May carry-on. It was in April's as well. If it was in March's, that will be very embarrassing. Okay, no, so I must have started it in April. Yeah, it's taking a while. I would DNF, but I own the physical books and I just bought the sequel from Fairy Loot, so it's fine. Final Empire, we are where we are. That book is just treated differently. I'm listening to Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. I'm pretty sure get that finished in July. And I also then started Skandar and dropped it after like 2 chapters and then switched to Jurassic Park. So that was a mistake. So once I finish Jurassic Park, I will go back and finish Skandar before I pick up anything else on audio. I'm hoping my next audiobook will be Project Hail Mary, but we'll see. Then for my stats, so for genres, I read 1 biography, 1 contemporary, 1 historical, because I always forget that Taylor Jenkins Reid counts as historical, 2 romance and 1 sci-fi. It's definitely a broader mix than my usual reads because there's a lot less romance in there than normal for a 7-book month. For format, 4 of them were novels, 2 of them were graphic novels, and 1 was a manga. For source, 3 of them were physical, 3 of them were audio, and 1 was an ebook. I think that is a pretty good spread. And the thing is, Feather So Black I'm reading on Kindle, so that's where like the lack of ebook is coming from. For author, 4 of them were new to me and 3 were ones I read from before. I don't really have a particular stat around this. Obviously, if you read from an author you've read from before, there is usually a higher chance that you'll like the book more, but I don't think that is true for me. This month, my favourite book was by a brand new author, so I'm always happy to try new authors. For audience, 3 of them were adult, 3 of them were YA, and 1 was a children's book, which was Spoops. For series, 4 of them were part of a series, and 3 of them were standalones. I really need to add a stat for starting a new series. 1 of these was starting a new series, so that's not too bad. 2 of them were carry on. For country, so what I love about this is 2 of them were set in Japan, back to back. I Think Our Son Is Gay and Abroad in Japan, so that's fun. 2 of them were in England, which is these 2, and then the other 3 were set in the US. I assume Spoops is in the US. It kind of gave US vibes. For publication year, 4 of them were 2025 releases, so I'm doing a really good job actually with 2025 releases. If there's one thing I can celebrate for this year, it would be that. 1 was from 2023, 1 from 2021, and 1 from 2004, which is the Jasper Fforde series. And then where I acquired them, so I got 1 from Amazon, 1 from Vinted, 1 from Forbidden Planet, 1 from NetGalley, and then 3 of them I got on Audible. So those are my stats. Let me switch to face cam, I guess. I'm not really like looking acceptable for for camera today, but that's pretty typical of these videos. So let me switch to camera and I'll chat about the books that I read. Okay, my hair is really doing its thing today, but anyway, I'm going to give you some relatively quick, if I can manage that, updates on what I read for June. So first up we have Enchanted to Meet You by Cara Stout, which I gave 3.5 stars. This is a very cute YA book about a girl called Imogen who feels like she just is never able to succeed in any job she gets. She moves on from jobs all the time. She's just very unlucky and always messing stuff up. And then her friend Divya convinces her to go and get a job at her local theme park, which she's always been obsessed with, because she is trying to take it down from the inside and write this like newspaper article about it. So she convinces Imogen to get a job there to try and like get her intel that she needs to take the park down. She meets Tristan, who is one of the sons of the theme park owner, who is totally done with it. He wanted to go and travel abroad, but his dad has not let him. Their mum passed away a few years ago and he's like, no, we need to all be here together. You cannot go traveling. I need you to become the marketing expert at the park. And Imogen seems to, for once in her life, be quite successful for this job and is roped in to become one of the face characters. Her and Tristan Tristan are then forced to work together because he plays one of the princes. But you know, they kind of like don't necessarily get on, but because especially with Tristan, he is so grumpy and Imogen is such a sunshine personality, and so they just kind of clash in that way. But Imogen remembers Tristan from when she used to visit the park when she was younger, and he was really sweet and looked after her, so she knows that deep down there's a really good guy there. This book is very interesting. I loved the theme park setting because I'm such a Disney girl, and this is very clearly based on Disney. So that was really fun to read. Obviously it's a YA, I'm not the target audience, though I will caveat by saying I really, really love YA romances. I think this one was just quite a lot of like will they, won't they, in a way that was like ever so slightly irritating. I almost would have rathered like a slightly different arc for the two of these characters, which is why I only gave it 3.5 stars. But you know, because there was just a little bit too much unnecessary drama for me, but I did think it was really fun. I will definitely carry on the series. I think the second one comes out later this year. I also think the cover is very fun for this, so there's always a win there. Next up we have Something Rotten, which is the 4th book in the Thursday Next series by Jasper Fforde. I gave this 3 stars. I don't really know how to rate these books anymore. I binge read these because I was meeting Jasper Fforde in June at an event, and it was said in the advertising he was going to be reading a little bit from the 8th book of the Thursday Next series. So I was trying to get through them all. I realised during the 4th one I just really couldn't do that. I don't think that these books serve me very well in being binge read, whether that's because they're not for me or whether that's because I didn't want to binge read them, I don't know. But I made the decision to stop at the end of 4 and switch to some other things, which was great because I listened to 2 more audiobooks and a half in June, so that was definitely the right decision. And ultimately Jasper didn't read any of the 8th one at the event, so it was all good, it was fine. I think that this series is perfect for you if you are an English literature student or you're really into classics. I haven't read basically any classics, so I miss a lot of the references. But there is a lot to really love about it. It's a really smart book. Jasper is very clever and he puts in a lot of like really like funny and just genuinely smart things in his books. But I think for me, I just miss too many of the references. I just also don't think this series needs to be that long. Like, yes, there are new ideas in each one, but also I think we probably could have had more of them in the other books and made this a shorter series. I just don't feel I can justify this being an 8-book series. So I'm going to take a pause. I'm not saying never say never for finishing it, but I think a not right now is absolutely fine for me. Next up, I read a graphic novel that I was so excited to read, which is Brielle and Bear, Once Upon a Time, which is the first in a new series by Salome Doku. I gave this 4 stars. This is the story of Brielle and Bear. And Brielle works in a bookshop and Bear is a sports person. And they sort of run into each other at the bookshop, and then it's a very, very, very slow burn watching these two fall in love. It's a very loose Beauty and the Beast retelling in this like fairy tale university setting. I don't think it's like massively Beauty and the Beast, to be honest, but it is very loosely referenced to be like that. I think that this is a really good book for like 10 to 16 year olds, even though it's a university setting. Nothing happens, like they don't even kiss, okay? The romance is the slowest of slow burns, and I didn't realise it was going to end on a cliffhanger, so I'm obviously going to have to carry on this series because ultimately these two like aren't really together by the end of book 1. So yeah, for now I feel this is a good younger YA story, and obviously if I read more and that changes, I will update you and let you know. The art is, I think, genuinely the prettiest graphic novel art I have ever seen. It is genuinely, in fact, let me show you because I think it is important to see. So for example, like here are the universities. It's based on 3 British universities and I can't remember which ones, like Oxford, Cambridge, whatever, but it's just absolutely stunning. The characters are gorgeous. Like it truly is the most beautiful graphic novel art. So I upped a star just for that because it's just beautiful. This is loosely Christian coded. The author is Christian. Not a problem for me, but just wanted to let you know that in case it would be a problem for you. But yeah, ultimately I think this is really cute. Very interested to see where the series goes from here. Then we have manga, which is I Think Our Son Is Gay Volume 4 by Akura. This is a really cute graphic novel series about a boy who is potentially gay. His mum is trying to work out whether he is or isn't, and it's not really okay in their culture in Japan to be gay, and so his mum is trying to figure out like how she can support him, especially when he is not necessarily like he doesn't really know right now that he's gay. And yeah, this was just another really cute installment in the series. Not a lot happens in them, but I think if you read them back to back, it would feel like more happens than when you just read one volume at a time. It's always lovely to see how supportive the mum is of Hiroki, and the dad is like starting to come around to things, which is good to see. I always give one of my stars of these books to Yuri, the little brother, who is just so smart and quick-witted, and I just really love him. He's great. He's just fantastic. He's just a fantastic character. So yeah, I really recommend these. They're very fun, they're very quick reads, and the art is beautiful. I don't know if I said I think Our Son Is gave 4 stars. Then another 4 stars was Abroad in Japan, 10 Years in the Land of the Rising Sun by Chris Broad. So Chris is a YouTuber. I have never watched any of his YouTube videos. I literally just saw his book once in Waterstones and I loved the cover. I looked it up and people said it was a really good audiobook, so I added it to my wish list and finally got to it. I really enjoyed this. Basically, Chris moved to Japan on like a teaching program and then ended up living over there for a number of years, and it's predominantly about his experience as an English teacher in Japan, but the second half of the book moves a lot faster through his experiences in Japan and kind of living there during like major political things happening. And it doesn't really go into meeting his fiance. Maybe they're married now, but I think fiance. It doesn't really go into that part of it, to be honest. It's slightly weird pacing in that way, but ultimately the teaching parts are the bits I found the most interesting, so I don't really mind in a way that like over half of the book is dedicated to the teaching. I just felt that the pacing then gets a little bit odd in the second half. We move time a lot faster. I think that Chris is a really good audiobook narrator, especially given that that's not his like #1 thing he does, though obviously he does have a YouTube channel. Yeah, I just really enjoyed this. I learned a lot about Japan, about Japanese custom, about being an English person living in Japan. I just thought this was really good, and I'd be really interested to read other books similar to this. So if you know of any, let me know, because I think I would find them really interesting. Then another 4-star read is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This would have been one of my 5-star predictions for the year though, so it is, I guess, a little bit disappointing, but obviously 4 stars is still a great result. So this is about Joan, who is a physicist, and she is quite happy with her little life. She is a very dedicated sister to Barbara and an auntie to Francis, but one day Barbara encourages her to apply for NASA, and she doesn't get in first time, but she decides that actually this is her calling and what she was meant to do, so she perseveres, and then eventually she becomes an astronaut. While she's at NASA, she goes through a lot of like development and understanding about herself and about some things. I really don't want to spoil it because I don't think it's remotely obvious from the cover where this book goes, so I really won't spoil it, but she discovers some stuff about herself and about her colleagues and sort of her place in the world and her place in her family as well, more than anything. This is a really interesting book. Taylor Jenkins Reid is a genius. She is a very, very, very good writer. I have really enjoyed every book I've read by her. I think where this one slightly disappointed me was I thought this was going to be my favourite. I love space. I'm like very interested in NASA. When we went to Florida in 2022, we went to the Kennedy Space Center, and I didn't realize that I was going to love it as much as I did. I just completely fell in love with it, and I really want to read more books that are actually about astronauts and space. Like The Martian, in my opinion, is a great book for that reason. And there is stuff about space, but it is more than anything about Joan. And again, I don't want to spoil it because I don't know. Let me see if it says anything in the synopsis about this. No, it doesn't. So I really don't want to spoil it. It's much more about Joan discovering things about herself and about the impact that has on all the other aspects of her life. It's much more about that, and that is very interesting, especially given the period of history like the 80s that we're looking at. I think that this was done really well. It's just I thought it was going to be a bit more of a space book, and I just would have liked a bit more about space, even though on reflection I think a lot of it is about space. And I still think it's a great book, and I would still really recommend it. Ultimately, if I think about how I came out of reading Daisy and Jones and the Six, which I think is a complete masterpiece, where I felt like my life had been like fundamentally changed as a result of reading Daisy Jones, I didn't feel that way after reading Atmosphere. And this, I do find rating books really hard, just a caveat. Like, I'm always comparing like an author's work to another author's work and thinking, did I love this one as much? And if I didn't, sometimes I'll drop it by a whole star, which is sometimes unfair. But a lot of the book hasn't stayed with me. I also think the ending, I was going to say the ending is rushed, even though the ending features throughout the book, but the ending is quite rushed. And I felt like that was just a little bit strange given like how much build up we'd had up to that point. Yeah, but ultimately I do still think this is really good. I would still really recommend it. The audiobook is great because it's read by Julie Whelan and she's always fantastic reading TJR's books, but it just wasn't my favourite TJR, especially given I wanted a little bit more of the space stuff. And then we have Spoops, The Little Spirits of Halloween, which I read through NetGalley as an ARC. So a massive thank you to, I say the publisher, but also potentially the author, because he is going through and commenting on reviews. And also thank you to NetGalley. So this is by AJ Lacascio. Apologise, AJ, I keep butchering your last name. And I gave this one 4.5 stars. This is about Holly, who is obsessed with Halloween, but her parents are dentists and they don't feel that they can be on board with a holiday that is, you know, promoting eating loads of candy, and so they don't really let Holly celebrate. And one Halloween they get invited to a dentist conference, and so Holly gets left on her own. She's a bit young on reflection to be at home on her own, but let's ignore that. She gets left at home on her own and she wishes on a pumpkin that her parents could understand her love for Halloween, and these little spoops, these spirits of Halloween, come and basically turn her house into like the best Halloween house on the street, and loads of people come and trick or treat and she has a really good time, and then they catch her parents and they like convince them to love Halloween. That it's not a very complicated plot. It is a children's book. It is just adorable. The art is, oh my word, stunning. It has this like orange, black and white color scheme, which is just beautiful. The art is really intricate. It has these gorgeous double page spreads. If you love really beautiful graphic novel art, I think you'll really love this. It is a children's book, but obviously I really enjoyed it as an adult, but I feel like you can enjoy it at any age. I think especially if you're a fan, I'm not a fan of Dr. Seuss as a person, but if you are a fan of Dr. Seuss books, especially The Grinch, this is literally the Halloween version of The Grinch. And the rhyming is very similar. And so yeah, I think that there's just a lot to love about this. I really want to get a physical copy because I don't think that reading this on my e-reader, well, I read it on my iPad, but the pages were sort of like wrong, so I couldn't look at the double page spreads in their full glory. So I really want to get a physical copy of this, but I would just really recommend this. It's very cute, it's very fun, it will be perfect for the Halloween season. Check it out when it is published, which will be on the 12th of August, so definitely keep your eye out for that. I think that's the speediest wrap up I've ever done for my reading, but I think that's probably not a bad thing. Let me know what books you read in June, if there's any you particularly loved, especially if you think I will love them. I would really love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a like, and if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe. In the description, I will have a link to my Instagram and my Goodreads if you want to check out any more content from me, but otherwise I'll see you in my next video. Bye!